Coming up today on Ktown Social Club, we have a guest, Cheryl Hwang from NewsNation Now, the first U.S.-born Pope as well. Cassie testifies at Diddy's trial today on Tuesday, and Luigi Mangione has a sex tape. All that coming up.
From Koreatown, Los Angeles, thank you for tuning in to Ktown Social Club for the issues you really care about. With David Yoon, Hajin Cho, and your host, Ed Choi. And with that, let's start the show.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we are joined by our panelists, Hajin Cho, our return guest panelist, Michael Kim, and we have a special guest today all the way from Chicago. Her name is Cheryl Hwang. She is the producer and journalist for NewsNation Now. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Hi. So how's the weather in Chicago, not to be basic?
No, actually, it's very good today. Oh, did I freeze over there?
Your image is frozen, but we can hear you.
Yep, there you go.
Oh, there I am. Sorry about that. Yeah, Chicago's pretty great now. It's been back and forth. It's super chilly. And like today, for instance, it's very, very sunny. And it's a hint of summer, which I'm so excited about. How about you guys?
It's a lot cooler than the weekend, right? It was pretty hot. And,
Yeah.
It cooled down for some reason.
It cooled down, yeah.
Yeah, it was being all over the place. It was like upwards, I think some places hit like over 100 degrees this weekend.
Damn.
And then
it was hot as hell, honestly.
Today is like high of 60s. So
Yeah. I like it like today.
Yeah, same.
I like a little cloudy. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking your time to be here. So you're currently with NewsNation Now, correct?
Yes, I am producer, writer, and journalist. Yes.
So how did you end up there, and what's that like? Tell us a day in your life, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know how you guys even found me, but thank you. I basically, I've been in the news biz for about 10 years now. Kind of started out after college, did not know that I was going to be a journalist at all, and kind of fell into it. And started my career as a on-camera reporter, bureau reporter out in Nebraska, then worked my way up. I don't know if you guys know too much about how the broadcast news industry works, but a lot of times you have to kind of go out to the smaller market sizes or the cities with like smaller populations and then kind of work your way up. And so that's what I did. Did Nebraska. I went out to Colorado Springs, Denver, then back to Chicago, where I'm from. And now I'm at a national news station called NewsNation, which is an exciting new venture for all of us in the news business, I guess.
What makes NewsNation different from, like, say, Fox or MSNBC and those other ones?
Sure. Yeah, I think it was born out of the need for more in the middle, bipartisan, not partisan news. There has been, as you guys know, lots of CNN saying one thing and left, right type of this thing. And people were kind of getting phased out and not wanting to listen to the news anymore. And so NewsNation kind of came about. Our parent company, Nexstar, owns a lot of different local, it's one of the biggest local news station kind of companies who owns the most amount of local news stations. And they said, you know what, in the middle of COVID, let's launch a whole new network. And nobody thought it would work. And here we are, couple million listeners, at least so far, on YouTube and such, as well as cable. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but
Cool, yeah. So you guys are in the middle. That's cool. Okay.
yeah. We try.
That must be tough, right? Because I feel like it's hard not to give your opinion with just, even
Well, as a
opinionated
journalist,
places.
you do try to, be as unpartisan and fact-based as possible. That's kind of your training. Ethical standards are there. And we're all human. You're right. After all, we do have our own biases. And we try on a daily basis to kind of get rid of that and put our biases at the door and do our job to report facts as much as possible. Yeah.
I see you guys are Nexstar also owns The Hill,
Yes, we do.
and
Yes.
The Hill does that morning program, Rising, right?
Rising,
think-
yes.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good show. I like they will have like a leftist and a right winger on there, and they'll kind of debate ideas. That's cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about NewsNation is that on a daily basis, we do have both. We have really interesting conversations on air from both the left and the right, and obviously the anchor as a moderator. As a producer, it's actually pretty fun to watch sometimes.
Cool. Okay. So how's the Korean community in Chicago?
Relatively thriving. Definitely, the Hallyu wave or, with BTS and Blackpink and everything has definitely made its impact like it has everywhere else. The Korean community here in Chicago is a little bit different than where it originally was when it was first born. So it kind of was in the city for a while, and now it's kind of more in the suburbs. There's a lot of really great food and, culture and all people out in Glenview area. I don't know if you know where that is, but
Is that close to Niles?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That area.
All right, cool. Are you familiar with the Korean, the Chicago Haninhue?
Say that one more time.
The Chicago Haninhue, the Chicago Korean American Community Organization there?
I'm not too familiar with it, unfortunately, but I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Because, yeah, my grandfather lived in Chicago way back in like 50s or 60s, and then he was the second president of the Korean American Association there. So I thought, I wonder if you know the organization.
Oh, wow.
But
That's
yeah,
incredible.
that's
Yeah. One of my close family friends is on the board of one of the Korean, I'm forgetting which organization now, but he does a lot of research for the Korean American communities in Chicago and around the nation, I believe.
Okay, cool.
How do you feel about, like, as someone who's in the industry, how do you feel about the way that the news is being presented now, / also is kind of feel like being targeted by the current administration?
I mean, unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm hopeful about the future of journalism because journalism is such an important part of our society and a democratic society. It is heartbreaking to hear that people don't like to listen to the news anymore. In fact, a lot of my friend groups always say, I just want to hear the good stuff. It's always the bad stuff. We don't want to hear all the partisan talk, basically. But I think there's room for growth and a place to kind of pioneer something new where people will actually listen. And yeah, I don't know.
No,
Sorry,
that's
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say you're excited about the future of journalism, do you mean because of like the advent of social media usage, or like because everyone has like smartphones now, or just like the accessibility to information spreading
That's a really
quickly,
good,
or like what do you mean?
Question. Yeah.
Just curious.
There is a lot changing in journalism and how it is being managed and received, and get like videos being taken and stuff like that. I say I'm hopeful because there's still people, even though for the most part it seemed like people are jaded by the mainstream news. There's actually still a lot of people who want better news, not just no news. And there's opportunity out there for journalists and people like yourselves, creators, who can bring really good information to the public in ways that we haven't before. And that's what I mean by being hopeful for the future.
People
Like Ed.
people in the industry, I've been curious, like, what do like actual news stations think about social media, quote unquote, journalists or people who do talk about news and politics online?
I think, you know what? I think everybody knows the power of social media, and at least for me, I'm also a pretty like forward thinker. I'd like to think of myself as one anyway. And my friend groups and my coworkers are relatively younger, 20s and 30s. And they obviously grew up, and we obviously grew up with social media. And I think the workforce is a lot more attuned to what's going on with social media and how it's impacting journalism and other forms of media. I will say maybe the executive branches, the higher ups, often tend to be a little bit slower. It is catching up, but it's definitely slower, and there's a lot of bureaucracy that needs to be kind of run through before like any like big changes need to be made. But the fact is, changes are being made so quickly and so much all at once that we need things like NewsNation, which is almost like a startup. In the beginning, it was a startup to kind of help mitigate that change, that fast change. We know AI is already here, and it's going to change how fast we consume or create anything. And we better change, right?
Right. By the way, how does NewsNation use AI in their newsroom?
That is something that I am not privy to, unfortunately. I'm sure there have been a lot of discussions in the upper management, but on a day-to-day basis, we are kind of, in the beginning, we didn't really, in fact, it was kind of hush-hush, like, let's not use AI, and it was unethical to use it at first. But now I think because everybody is using ChatGPT and whatnot, I think everybody's starting to use it on their personal time, and so it's kind of creeping into their work life. But there's not been concrete direction as to how to use AI for journalism at this time.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but in South Korea, the company Naver, which is like the top search engine in Korea, their stocks took a dive. Naver. Their stocks took a bit of a dive this week when officials came out and stated that a lot of people are now starting to use AI in lieu of search engines.
Yes. I mean, I think we knew that was going to happen, unfortunately. Yeah. And they just, I don't know. I didn't know about the news from Naver, but I think it would be wise for them to. Is it that they aren't caught up, or that they just said that people are using AI instead of search engines, so they're trying to get more people to use Naver?
No, I think there was just an article stating that there was like some official that came out with like some statistic, and they were like, hey, a lot of people are starting to use AI instead of search engines, and then I think their stocks took a bit of a dip because of that news.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So as a journalist and producer and all, like, what are some of the stories and things that you've covered that that you feel very, proud of and important, that you felt were important? Yeah.
Thank you for asking that question. I actually got into journalism because of the need for Asian American voices in America. And initially, I actually wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I was raised also partly in South Korea, grew up part of my childhood in South Korea, but kind of grew up watching a lot of Korean entertainment shows. So I was thinking that I would go into these kind of Korean entertainment or like broadcast TV, but then eventually kind of shifted into American media. And I noticed that people started saying, no, you can't be in media and in mainstream media in the US. And I was kind of bummed out and started to kind of look into it and started to understand the history of Asian Americans, which I was not privy to at the time. And I I got super passionate about bringing the voices of our people to the masses. And so some of the stories that I love to and have had the privilege to tell have been Asian American stories or Asian stories. For instance, when I was in Colorado Springs, I don't know if you guys remember the movie Minari, which won Academy Award. Yeah, the director who's the movie was about the director's life and his family, and his sister and her family lived in Colorado Springs. I believe still are currently, and they're incredibly smart people. But I got to interview them and their thoughts on how the impact of Minari and the impact of Minari and what their lives are like now, and all that. So that was really cool.
And you got to do that for NewsNation?
No, at the time I was doing my local news, so it was still Nexstar, which is our parent company of NewsNation, but it was Fox 21 News there locally.
Cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Were you in... I heard recently that a lot of news stations and even like newspapers are starting to get rid of their fact-checking department. Is that something that you've witnessed recently in the last like 10 years?
Honestly, I've never seen a fact-checking department in my career. I think mainly because, one, I was at smaller markets and there are not very many people employed at these local stations. And so everybody's doing everything all at once, all of the things, all of the jobs all at once. But also, I think I came upon the industry in an age of where there was already change happening. And so also, when I came in, journalists were the fact checkers, and we were the people who do all of that, all the getting of the story, the filming. We were called MMJs, or multimedia journalists. So we would literally, when I first got into the business, I was literally going out shooting my own stuff, making sure fact checking, having the producers also help me fact check, and then like do social media, and then be on air and all that, and be live on television, and be my own director or whatever.
Wow. So when you were going out and even filming yourself, like if you were doing like say a report, you would like set up the camera and everything, and then stand in front of the camera and like talking to a microphone.
Absolutely.
And then so you would do all that by yourself.
All of it.
Even the editing and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then on top of it, you have to be journalistically sound. So that's pretty tough.
Wow. Did that ever get dangerous?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we, especially out when I first moved out to Nebraska, rural Nebraska was my first
like Fargo
first
land?
station. Huh?
Like where Fargo is supposed to be?
We would literally, a lot of my stories were 2 hours away, and I would be driving at night. Obviously we had our evening news. And so I would be out in the middle of nowhere with like in a town of 3,000 people, and doing a story about, a child predator father, like a priest.
Oh my God.
And knocking on church doors, and being shooed off, being called the police on. And so, or like I would be in a what's it called? A SWAT situation, and be there by myself and kind of suss out the situation by myself. And sometimes there would be other reporters, but oftentimes they were doing a lot. They were so understaffed that there really wasn't anybody there besides myself, and we'd be the first on scene, etc. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, glad nothing bad ever happened. That's
I mean,
sketchy.
other people, other journalists and other coworkers and colleagues of mine have had much worse situations than I have. So I feel very lucky. The other aspect of being a female journalist, a TV journalist, is that we have to deal with the trolls also,
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
which is so fun. We have a lot of stories about pictures being sent to us and
Okay.
interesting remarks.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys had to do, I mean, but generally, if there was some report, like let's say at a, some gang infested area or something like dangerous, would they typically send like the guy, like, hey, you do this because it's a little dangerous, or
Not always.
they don't care?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's so understaffed in those small towns that it's whoever is on call, and oftentimes it doesn't matter. We do think, or the news directors always say, safety first, obviously. But sometimes as a baby journalist, you want to get the story, and sometimes you don't put your safety up first all the time. At least that was my thought process, which probably wasn't the greatest, but yeah.
Cool. So do you typically focus on like Asian American stories then? Generally, like if you get to choose what you do? Like
No. So as a journalist, I try to be as well-rounded as possible. And I have my own biases, and I try to put that at the door as well. But if I can, if I'm the only person that can bring these stories to the table in the newsroom, then I do that. And oftentimes it does end up being that I am the only person that does bring up these types of stories. If that, oh, sorry, this is my little cat here. Excuse me. So and it just sometimes ends up being that I am the person that brings up a lot of the Asian American stories to the newsroom.
Cool. By the way, I love cats. Your cat's pretty cool. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Okay.
So you said earlier something about when you were trying to get jobs in journalism. It sounded like you faced some like racial, like misogynistic stuff. Was there any like, oh, we already have an Asian correspondent? Was it stuff like that?
No, you know what? Thankfully, I did not receive any racism, those kinds of remarks from news stations or news directors. I've had some. I think I've put more pressure on that kind of stuff for myself, and going into it feeling really like, are they judging me? But honestly, the journalism industry has been struggling, I think, to keep up with the demands of the modern changes, that they were ready to hire anybody. Like, it's something that I've been talking to a lot about with my colleagues and veterans in the business, is that how the industry has been changing is that, like, journalists and TV producers, and they've been paid very handsomely in the past, but now they are the least paid, and it's actually really sad how at least that's I don't want to speak for everybody, but that's a lot of the conversations that I have around me, and I think that hopefully will be changing soon, but there is no plan at the moment to kind of, address those situations. But going back to the racial things, I've experienced it more from the people I was covering more than anything. And it wasn't that it was outright just hate at all. It was more just not being educated on, maybe not even having Asians around in their personal communities, in their own communities. And so I thought of it as more of an opportunity to educate more than anything, and be a strong-willed person, and making a statement and being like, hey, I'm a person. So having those conversations, yeah.
Cool. As an Asian American journalist and news producer, you probably are aware of like Asian American journalists groups and things. Like, I'm wondering, like, who are the your fellow Asian American journalists that you admire, or any journalists in general? Like, yeah, who are your heroes in the community?
So many. I've looked up to in Chicago. I looked up to Nancy Liu, who was a reporter, a longtime reporter at WGN in Chicago, but she actually ended up working at NewsNation, so I actually get to work with her.
Nice.
So that's so exciting. She's one of the most badass, reporters out there. Honestly, incredible what she does. Also, I mean, obviously Lisa Ling. I haven't had the privilege of meeting her. I love Vicky Nguyen from NBC. Brian Chung, also from NBC. Frances Wang. I think she's in Philadelphia right now, anchoring. I love how loud she voices allows her voice to be heard by others, which we need more of. I'm sure there's so many more. I mean, Connie Chung, legendary.
Gee.
Yeah, there's
Cool.
too many.
All right. Yeah.
Are there any, either with NewsNation, or have you heard any rumblings of, especially if so many social media, quote unquote, journalists are kind of the new wave? I'm actually surprised that I haven't heard of any like stations reaching out to any of them to try to get some different views or a different take or evolve the news somehow. Any?
Are you talking about like freelance journalists?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's a lot of people on social media, and like, for instance, Gen Z stated that something like 85% of Gen Zs get their news from social media.
Yeah.
So, is there any like initiative to try to work with any of these social media people to try to get some of the viewership back to TV?
Actually, we have had a few of them, like influencers in that realm, come on as guests and talk about their views, but at this time, I don't believe at least I'm not privy to that information of like what kinds of, strategies we're using to collaborate with others. Working with other entities, I think, becomes expensive. And that's, from a business perspective, obviously not great. So we do try to use as much in-house as possible, and I think that's what most executives are thinking about, to be honest. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
it would be great to have like collaborations of all different kinds of people and voices, and especially Gen Z people, and they're all of that. So
Cool. Actually, I'm wondering also, as a news producer and journalist, like, what news? I mean, obviously, NewsNation is great, and The Hill.
Thank you.
I like The Hill. I especially watch Rising a lot when it was hosted by, back when it was hosted by like Crystal Ball and Sagar. I don't know his last name, but Crystal was like the progressive, and Sagar was like the conservative. And then, I would watch that show every day, and like, wow, this is really cool that this big media outlet is like allowing this kind of like really like pretty progressive talk. And that show actually grew pretty big. I remember it was during COVID, I think. And then, they got so popular, they ended up doing their own thing. But I'm wondering for you, and then I also watched when Brianna Joy Gray was on there. She was really good. But I'm wondering for you, like, what media outlets, what news outlets do you like, not just in the US but, are there any like news outlets around the world that you're into, or you like to, yeah.
it's tricky. First of all, if you like The Hill and The Rising, we have a lot of the similar discussions, like really like progressive discussions on NewsNation as well, on primetime. And so I encourage you to kind of listen in and see if you like it. But in terms of the news outlets that I listen to or see, I mean, it's difficult because I am a person and I do get busy and I want to be as well informed as possible, and I do, but I also have my duties, like stories I'm assigned to or things like that. So I get very kind of pigeonholed in some certain things at times. I do like to, in my personal life, get as much different cable news and different perspectives as much as possible. So like, for instance, I'll have MSNBC on my television, but then listen to ABC on my. I wake up to news podcasts and things, so I have that come up in the mornings, and then I'll pull up some podcasts. I mean, podcasts are huge these days, obviously. So I love The Economist. BBC is always interesting, but I also really like the. I mean, there's like the big guys, right? Politico and, but there's also actually a lot of great Asian American news sources like Next Shark. I think Benny Low is the one that heads it, and I would love to have discussions with him one day. But Next Shark, excuse me. He just recently launched the what's it called? Yellow
Rebel Yellow.
Yes, Rebel Yellow. Love that. I also, back in the day, Skim was a thing, SKIMM, for more dedicated to female news viewers. So I try to keep in touch with like female news and as well. And I also my parents are in Korea, so I try to keep in touch with like the Korean news. So it's really kind of what my life kind of revolves around, that I tend to kind of pick what kinds of news sources I listen to or take in. How about you guys? I'm curious.
I think I'm kind of similar to you. I look at a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look at, especially from when, after liberation, Trump's Tariff Liberation Day, I was watching a lot of Fox and MSNBC and CNN. But not only that, I also look at Chinese media. I was looking at British, Australian, different countries' media. Like, okay, I got the American left, the American right. Okay, what are the actual Chinese saying? And then you hear, and I'm like, okay, let's hear what Koreans are saying. And then Koreans can be different because a lot of them are kind of anti-China. And then, so I actually intentionally look for stuff that I disagree with because I'm basically kind of challenging my own views. I'm like, I feel like I know that if I'm not open to new ideas, I wouldn't be where I am today in terms of what I think that I know anyway. So I'm always open to new things. And if anyone wants to challenge something that I think or I see something, I always look at it because I'm like, okay, maybe this could be right. And maybe I could learn something. So I do especially seek out stuff that I don't like. Yeah. I don't know about Ed and Hajin.
Yeah.
As far as for me, I haven't really been consuming news because I get it from you guys every week, and I've been busy like living it up at festivals. But I'm a young millennial, but I feel like I veered towards how Gen Z consumes content lately. It depends on the toxic app of the week, I guess. But like, I love Twitter and TikTok, even though they're both cesspools, but they both serve different functions. I feel like they're both okay. People on there are hella funny. First of all, just like memes endlessly, and then so it's entertainment. But also, yeah, there's some TikTok journalists, some like independent, just like thought provokers, just pseudo intellectuals or intellectuals or what have you. I feel like there's some people. I feel like there's a lot of interesting discourse that happens on TikTok because you can make like the short/long format videos now, and like just the way the algo is. Like I have a lot of like very interesting people that come up on my feed. So
if I can chime in, it's really interesting. I do completely agree with you that there are incredible educators and just intellectuals on these short form platforms, but it can also be misleading at times, and it's not properly labeled. And that's when you can start to get into the weeds a little bit about like into trouble, and then the algorithm's also feeding you the same things over and over and all that stuff. So actually one of my like projects that I'm working on is how to like navigate around some of these social media kind of loopholes, or not loopholes, but like pigeonholes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
so-
definitely agree. It definitely can be a place where misinformation just like travels like rapid fire. It happens every day, and then that's how
Yeah.
sometimes memes are born too, because it's like such a believable lie. And no, I totally agree with that. And media literacy is so dead. That's like a conversation people keep bringing up. So I think we're doomed. I mean, I already fell
Don't
for
say
the
that.
AI slop. I fell for a Katy Perry picture like last week, and I was like, wow, she looks fresh, and it was AI, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god. It's happening. So I think it's going to happen to the best of us, young or old, or tech savvy or not. So what do you think about that? The media literacy / illiteracy. Do you think like
I just think it's definitely one of the new generation kind
like
of
social problems?
issue that we need to jump through. It's the hoop that we need to jump through.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the answer right now, and I think that's part of the fun. And I feel pretty hopeful about humanity. I know some people can be very pessimistic,
too,
but I think
oddly enough.
humans. I can see you guys. No, I like to believe that humans can be good. I mean, we are good.
Hopefully we
I
head
think
that
overall
direction.
our intentions are good, overpowered by a lot of bad for sure. There is a lot of bad in this world, but in terms of jumping through this hoop of like getting through a societal problem, especially in America, I think who RBJ said it best. We're kind of a pendulum. We swing one way, then the other way, and we eventually move forward like that. You making decently right decisions. Obviously, there's always going to be some kind of discourse and criticisms on whatever decisions you make, but I like to be hopeful. I think it's media literacy isn't dead. I was trending in the wrong direction, but I think people are smarter than that. Gen Z is smarter than that, and they are probably going to be the first ones to maybe millennials will be the first ones to kind of navigate around that. I think, like I said before, I think people still want the news. People still want to be informed. They don't want to be pigeonholed. I think most people want to get out of those algorithm loops and be informed and be an intellectual person. And yeah, I'm saying the same things over and over again at this point, but yeah, I think people want to learn and be good citizens of the world.
Right.
That is true. So speaking of which, if you would like, we can move on to some of this week's, and I guess technically last week's headlines as well, just because for those of you watching, our guest last week didn't feel comfortable with some of the headlines that we covered, so we had to cut it all out. But especially since you are from and live in Chicago, the first one I would love to get your thoughts on, but the first U.S. elected pope is from Chicago.
The Pope.
Yeah, now known as Pope Leo, but it was Cardinal Robert Prevost who was selected as the new pope. How was the news in Chicago? I'm assuming.
Oh my gosh,
Chicagoans
it was
are, like,
received with
freaking out.
so much joy and excitement. We've interviewed some of Pope Leo's family members are still in Chicago. At least one of his brothers is, I believe, and so we had them on and kind of talked about a lot of the fun, like Chicago themed things, like
I hear he's a
ketchup
big
on a hot dog.
White Sox fan.
Yeah, and it was funny because initially they're like, "Oh, he's a Cubs fan," and then they
He's like,
backtracked.
nope.
And,
There was an old video I saw on social media of like 20 years ago of him in the bleachers or something at a baseball game, just enjoying.
Yeah, it looked like he was with family and he was like wearing a White Sox cap, if I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been amazing memes, by the way. Literally, as the announcement of Pope Leo being the Pope was announced, the meme gods were all over it. It was amazing. And with AI, there's,
Yeah, well, the take that I thought was the funniest was if we could share the screen here.
Oh, we can't.
We can't. We can't?
Oh, is that connected?
Yeah.
Hey, David, does it work? Because I think only one computer at a time, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
Zoom, we switched the.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's
okay. Yeah. So no worries. But without looking at any of the visuals, there was Trump came out with a quote as soon as the new pope was selected, and he said, "Congratulations to Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who was just named pope. It is such an honor to realize that he's the first American pope. What excellent and what a great honor for our country. I look forward to meeting Pope Leo the 14th. It will be a very meaningful moment." And it was just funny because Robert Prevost didn't tweet anything at all in 2024, but he posted 5 tweets or retweets in 2025, and every single one of them was anti-Trump. Like he retweeted something where he criticized how he handled the whole Kilmar Abrego Garcia situation. There's one where he literally basically chastised J.D. Vance for saying that he's not really a Christian.
He's calling for
Well,
ceasefire.
you know, I think he was.
Yep, and he's pro-Palestinian.
He was chosen by Pope Francis, and a lot of Pope Francis's, stances were against Vance's immigration policies, or not Vance, Trump's immigration policy, and against Vance as well. But outspoken about being anti all of that deportation and stuff. But it's not necessarily that he was anti-Trump or anti-Vance. I think it was more of the policies that he was against. So.
And Vance met the Pope, and then the new Pope was criticizing Vance's or policy or statements or whatever.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting when Vance meets the new Pope too. And then also, I wonder if that's why Trump put that AI picture of himself as Pope.
Oh my
Remember he
God, I
did that?
saw that. That was bad.
Oh,
I didn't believe that was for real until I went to Truth Social myself, and I'm like, oh my God, it was actually.
you didn't believe me last week?
No, I saw it. I saw it like literally like hours. I saw it on Twitter, and I'm like, this can't be real. So I immediately went to Truth Social, and I was like, oh wow, okay, it's real.
Yeah, so
That's funny.
That was funny because, Texas just recently passed that anti-political meme bill, essentially. I mean, that's not exactly what it was called, but it includes that. And then literally the next day, they posted a AI-generated image of the Pope, or Trump as Pope. And the funny thing is, I don't think we can show it because it's not connected, but I got a clip from Trump claiming that he didn't create that image or post it. And it's like, we can all see that it was posted from your account. So what are you talking about?
He's so dumb. Oh my God.
It's part of his strategy. Can't see me.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. But the one interesting thing that I did find out about the Vatican finally electing a U.S. elected pope is that there are a lot of people in the finance and economics world stating that an American pope being elected indicated the USA's political decline. Because basically what they were stating was that because U.S. is number one in so many things that they didn't want to make us number one in religion as well, So the only way that the Vatican would have elected an American pope is if America's policies and economics was in decline. So that way it's like, oh, America's not number one in everything. They just got a pope, So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
That is an interesting perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
What are you guys' take on that?
He seems sassy from the memes I've seen. Like, he seems like very, pro-Palestinian and the war. American imperialism needs to stop. Like, he seems very, not cutthroat. I don't know jack shit about religion and popes, but I've been kind of following this because it's cool, I guess. It's because I just watched Conclave and now I pretend I know everything about Catholicism. But it's just been cool to see the political / social aspect of it, how it's all he's chosen and stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of conversation around him right now. Literally everyone's talking about it. People are talking about him like he's a K-pop idol in the K-pop Twitter spaces. It's
a lot
so
of people
funny.
are calling him Francis too, right?
He's being memed about incessantly.
Huh.
Yeah. So funny what people will, latch onto to like make the fun thing. Of
I was
the
actually
week.
having a conversation with my parents about this actually about how America is perceived in other countries and because of I mean it's been exacerbated by tariffs and everything, but like how foreign countries see America and how Americans see Americans is a very different thing. And I think the future of journalism, not to bring that back again, but I think the future of journalism is going to be bringing a global aspect to all news rather than these national-based, like country-based news. And I think I don't want to speak for the future and I don't want to, look into the crystal ball or anything, but I feel like there might be some perspective bubbles that will shift in the next decade or fast for sure. So
Especially, I think, especially true, especially with, I mean, to me it seems, because I don't want to be biased or whatever, but it seems like Trump's Liberation Day with the tariffs and everything, now we're back to before that. To me, even though Fox may claim it as a win, to me it seems like a Chinese victory. And when I see how much, like over the last 25 years, China's growth and all the new things they're doing, they're trying to send people to the moon by 2030. Wow. They've landed on the dark side of the moon already. And all these other technologies that we're finding out even just this year because I've looked at a bunch of it. I'm like, wow. And then especially with this trade war, I saw like commenters from like Britain, Australia, even like South Korean conservatives just trashing America for these tariffs and all this and saying, hey, yeah, let's just turn to China then. So I think especially as China continues to rise and get more powerful, and does more trade with the world and all this. And America, I don't know if it's going to continue whatever things that it's been doing, but definitely I think the global, or at least Western perception will shift greatly, I think, in the next 10 years. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it already has a lot.
I feel like our cultural dominance will change for sure. Like, just like our ability, we still, I guess, with the ability to have one of the greatest like medias, I guess, because it's all media is still very like Western centric. But I feel like you say, once journalism and entertainment media just there's more global accessibility all around. Even with Netflix, like look at what Netflix Korea is doing. Like Netflix wasn't a thing when I was in Korea like 12 years ago. People are like, what is that? And now it's like Netflix Korea is like outdoing all the other Netflixes. It's like, of course it is. But anyway, yeah, I just think with the accessibility of entertainment media information like that, like you say, I think it opens up more avenues for people to succeed in journalism or what have you, for sure, whether it's through social media or there could be more new things that pop up too, like technology that hasn't even been invented yet. But yeah, I don't know why I wanted to say that last point. I just meant to say I agree with you.
Cool. Okay.
I agree with your take.
your opinion always matters, so don't be.
I'm not claiming to be a journalist. I'm an opinionator.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about the Trump administration, I think, is that everything that they've been trying to do, it's been having the adverse opposite effect.
Karma.
So I'm like actually starting to think, I was like, maybe Trump was good for the world because now where the needle is moving away from the U.S. and like the gaslighting the U.S. is able to do and all that stuff is kind of coming to the forefront because of it. And I feel like some of the propaganda that the world is telling about certain parts of the other world are starting to kind of come to light, and you're starting, you know, there's starting to be light leaks through everything. And I feel like that is kind of a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, I don't want to part the sea or anything, but
Part the sea.
I do think
part the
that Trump is putting America first in many aspects. And you're right. I mean, for instance, like the immigration policies, there was reason to be as aggressive as he is now. Being on the ground, like we have our border reporter, our NewsNation reporter, Ali Bradley has been, and Jorge Ventura has been at the border reporting about that kind of stuff for the last like 3-4 years and not leaving. And we've seen a lot that has happened that not many mainstream media outlets cover. And so things like that, and maybe bringing manufacturing back to the United States is a smart move in some aspects. But at the same time, yeah, he's kind of losing a lot of trust globally. And I don't know if I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. We'll have to see what actually happens. It is only the first 100 days after all.
But like, for instance, like the whole manufacturing thing, personally, I think that's going to flop super hard because I have experience with American manufacturers and the quality level just is nowhere near the rest of the world. But I think by doing that, I think it's going to make people realize specifically here in America that like, oh, we've already lost that. We've already lost the manufacturing. So like now they're not going to hopefully be demonizing other countries who are able to do it better, faster, cheaper. So like I think that's where I'm personally at. But yeah, we don't know, But
now,
we'll see.
now things that are branded American made is going to be like people in other parts of the world are going to be like, no, I don't want that. It's going to be shit. It says American made, like how Americans here are so microaggressive about like China made things, when like fucking everything's made in China. It's like, hello.
Yeah.
Even the
It's
nice
funny,
shit,
actually-
like most of the nice stuff.
I mean, like
honestly.
Teslas are made here and the bumpers
Yeah.
were glued on. Like what?
Yeah.
Like that's
Elon,
crazy.
come on, do better.
Oh my god, he's a flop. If anything's a flop, that man.
Yeah.
Recently,
man.
I saw a story about like shrimp manufacturers or people who breed shrimp for food for restaurants and stuff. After the Liberation Day, American shrimp factories or farms got boosted, and they were like previously maybe like 1 or 3% of the entire like trade, and those people are like having the time of their lives right now because everybody's trying to buy from them. So
We all know the best shrimp comes from Southeast Asia. I mean, right? Like Thailand,
have
the
no
Philippines,
idea.
Vietnam. That's where the rare, fancy, good shrimp
Most of
comes
the-
from.
yeah.
I bet, yeah.
the pretty shrimp.
Yeah, the
A
exotic shrimp.
juicy.
Yeah.
So what are they? Just big giant shrimp?
No, there's just like all different species, but they have like all these nice, colorful, exotic shrimp that apparently,
Exotic, yeah.
just taste different. I don't know if better.
Well, seafood
but
in
different.
Korea tastes fire. It's like
Yeah.
so
Oh,
good,
yeah.
and it's like
'Cause it's
way
fresh,
cheaper. Yeah,
whereas
'cause it's
with the
fresh.
majority
they
here
literally
it's
just
farmed.
fished it.
Yeah.
Literally have
Yeah.
to right in front of you.
Hey, you ever when in Korea? Did you ever go to the seafood place and you eat that? I don't know what it is, but it looks like it squirts water out. You know what I mean? I don't
Oh.
even
And
know what
it's
that's
alive?
called.
That thing that looks phallic and is in a clam.
It looks like a hot dog basically, and it shoots out water.
Oh,
I
it's
always
a
wondered
plant.
gooey
An
duck.
animal?
Gooey duck.
Is it an
Is that what it's
animal?
called?
I don't know what is
Like
that.
a plant or animal?
It's like a seashell. It's like a,
It's like a
mollusk
sea,
or whatever
but
they're
it's
called.
alive, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how it
yeah,
moves.
yeah.
Okay. I feel like I've seen it in like a cartoon, but I'm like, have I seen
Have you
it
ever
in
eaten
person?
that?
No.
I don't even know what those are. I was just.
I love those.
Actually, I think
Oh,
I
you
did.
like those? You've had them?
They're
Yeah.
super chewy, right?
Yum.
Yeah, super chewy.
Yeah, I did eat them once.
Yeah, my
I
dad
love
grew up
seafood.
along the seaport, so
Oh,
ate a lot of that.
Wait, they are called gooey duck, right?
gooey duck?
I don't remember honestly, but
So someone correct me in the comments, please.
Gooey?
What's your were you born in Korea by chance, or where's
no,
your
I was born in
parents
Chicago,
Korean?
but I spent like half of my childhood in Korea. My dad's from Pohang.
Oh,
Hey, Pohang!
Oh,
I've
okay.
been there. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Cool. That's where I did my ROC Republic of Korea Marine Corps boot camp in '95 there
Oh,
What
wicked!
on
in
earth?
Pohang. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I've
mean, it's
heard
like
of
a summer
Pohang. I don't know if
program,
I've
yeah.
been, but yeah.
Yeah.
Pohang.
All right. Also, real quick on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, I guess. Diddy's trial kicked off this
Oh
week.
yeah. Oh my goodness.
And Cassie, today we're recording this on a Tuesday, but Cassie testified today, and I'm not sure if you guys saw this. But she testified that, quote, it became just a job for her, having those freak-offs, as they call them.
Wait, who is Cassie?
Cassie, she was a singer that also was P. Diddy's girlfriend for a while. She sang that "You and Me" song. It's just you and me.
She's the one that the CNN video, the surveillance video
beating.
where Diddy was actually
the hotel lobby or whatever.
Right in front of the elevators. Yeah, that was her.
Yeah.
She's like an amazing singer. She's beautiful, and she's had her career stunted by Diddy because every time she wanted to come out with a follow up, after she wanted to follow up from her first album, he would hang it over her head and be like, "Well, you can't be in the studio if this, or you have to do this to be in the next studio." Like so. He really stunted her career, but
she's like traumatized for life.
I mean,
he tortured her. It sounds like
years.
It's
so
like
basically,
sick shit.
So today, one of the male escorts that was a part of these freak-offs also testified. His name is Daniel Phillip. He claimed that he received allegedly anywhere between $700 to $6,000 per encounter. He was originally an exotic dancer who was, quote, booked for a bachelorette party, except when he knocked on the house for the bachelorette, it was Cassie who opened the door in a red wig, and she claimed that her husband wanted something special, and then when he went into the bedroom and asked to perform, he found that there was a man wearing a bandana on his face, sitting in the corner and pleasing himself during the whole time. And the second time that Daniel Phillip went to their house for this similar encounter, he actually witnessed Diddy beat the living daylights out of Cassie. And when he was asked like why he didn't do anything, his answer was that he knew how well connected Diddy was, and he was terrified to do anything because he knew that it would end in his life ending as well. Cassie she testified that she was forced to take a bunch of drugs: ecstasy, cocaine, marijuana, ketamine, mushrooms. She said, quote, whatever was a drug of choice at that point. And she claimed that she was sick to her stomach to the point of wanting to vomit many times. And every time she was in that state, Diddy would tell her, quote, if we were in the freak off, he would encourage me to get up and continue on with it in that condition. So, yeah, he's facing a lot. It does kind of seem like, I don't know, the courts can be, and that's like when you were talking about media literacy earlier. I do TikTok videos, and in the comments, it's very obvious that a lot of times people have comprehension issues. Like I will say things explicitly and people will still be confused and still spread misinformation. So I've basically come to an opinion that I don't believe in our justice system anymore. I do not believe in a jury of your own peers. Because if the jury of our peers are the majority of people who are commenting online, then they do not exhibit the comprehension or the deductive thinking skills to be able to decide other people's fate. So I'm only bringing that up to be like, we don't know what's going to happen with the Diddy trial. But from my perspective, it seems like the prosecution has many smoking guns, and he should never see the light of day again.
I hope so, yeah.
But we don't know. Because again, his hands are in... and from what I hear, I don't know if you guys know Stephanie Sue. She does the Rotten Mango podcast.
Oh, yeah.
She's really smart businesswoman. She actually got a journalist pass, a press pass to Diddy's trial.
Ooh.
And so there's only like 3 rows of press, and she's one of them. And she stated after the first day of jury selection, she stated that she went on social media and she stated that Diddy would, throughout the jury selection, would turn around and basically have stare downs with each member of the press. And her literal words were, it felt like he was challenging you to look away first. And she said that he did that with every member of the jury as well. So he is literally intimidating them in person with nonverbals as much as possible, because I think it's the same thing the witness Daniel Phillip said. Everyone knows at this point how well connected he is. Of course, all of this is speculation, but like, it's pretty well known that it sounds like he's the one who may have had a hand in his own friend Biggie and even Tupac's own demise.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that.
So
theory.
like people are aware. We've all heard the story about him and his son inside of the bathroom stall with that one guy getting shot in the face, and then even the police came and they were like, "Hey, unless you say that he did it, we can't do anything." So it's like I think everyone knows how well connected he is. and he's using it to his advantage, and
He
it's
definitely
terrifying.
has like mob shit. Like he definitely has people like hella people working for him and like law enforcement even. I feel like people at that level of celebrity or like power or fame all do. That's like our version of like one of the versions of our corruption.
Yeah, not
and
that all
injustice.
billionaires do, but
Not all
like
billionaires, but
to make that kind of wealth.
But this man, like, he was getting away with these freak off, these insanely, not even remotely ethical, obviously, like these insane situations.
For decades.
He was putting these victims in these like harrowing, abusive, exploitative situations, and like he never thought he was gonna get caught. Like I just think that's insane. Like how like delusional and like not in a normal just reality. How like untethered you are from it. I'm like, I can't even fathom what that's like. I'm always like too concerned about everything and everyone. It like brings me deep anxiety. I just can't imagine being that like deluded, I guess. But he sucks. And I hope he dies in jail, in prison. He looks pretty bad from the one picture I saw.
Yeah.
His hair is gray.
You can't have any photography in the trial, but they have been drawing it. And Stephanie Sue likened him to an aging koala. Is what she said.
I feel like that's too cute. Koalas are too cute.
But before we
man.
go, I just wanted to get your opinion on this as well, especially because, you know, this is such a topical issue. But the whole Luigi Mangione case, when it comes to how the industry of like reporters are thinking into this, because I know you guys have to be as impartial as possible. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on Luigi Mangione?
Gee, that's a tough one. I don't condone violence, obviously. But there is a reason why he is revered the way he is. And I don't know what the latest news is actually from Luigi, but I do think it's a little grotesque that people are sexualizing him and then, yeah, it's, I don't know. At this point, it's a little too much of the, how do I put this? Just like
glazing him, as the kids say.
Yeah.
Glamorization.
Yeah.
Pedestaling. Just because he's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only up to a point that, like, yes, of course, people have suffered and died over these insurance claims and the corruption behind it. But is murder really the solution? And is revering somebody who it's a tough one. I don't know. I don't have
tough
the answers.
because I feel like a lot of people do it subconsciously because the government, the judicial
fun to do
system,
it.
and the media also like typically they dehumanize these people. You know what I mean? They immediately label them a criminal. So I think by sexualizing him, it's the masses' way of like humanizing him, constantly being like, hey, he's not just that. He also, you know, whatever. But the latest news on Luigi Mangione is actually that apparently he filmed upwards of 20 sex videos.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and not even just like you know, weird, sketchy, creepy the way that people, you know, film those things, but apparently they were like a production where he had like the whole thing was like lit up with like professional lighting and like the cameras, and basically the media and the people are stating that it seemed like he made these videos wanting people to watch them. Now, I don't think they've been released, not that I would know. But yeah, apparently someone came out with it and released the information that he has those out there. And
this was prior to his arrest?
Yes. This was prior to his arrest. I don't know how recently before, but it was prior to his arrest. The only other news about Luigi Mangione is that someone in the Bay Area just recently made a musical about Luigi Mangione, which kind of ties into the whole Diddy case. But there's 5 shows in June, all of which sold out within, I think, the first day. The show centers around the concept that Luigi Mangione, Sam Bankman-Fried, who was the cryptocurrency fraud guy with FTC, that he, Luigi Mangione, and Diddy are sharing a prison cell. Now, that's actually based in some truth because although they didn't share the same cell, apparently at one point in time they were all in the same prison.
Yes.
So the claim is that the people who wrote this play claim that the play isn't to glorify any sort of violence or pass judgment on the legal cases or to condone SA or pedophilia or anything like that. The purpose is to ask societal questions like why Mangione has become a bit of a folk hero, and along with like a critique of him, Bankman-Fried and Diddy, and I guess kind of do like a little bit of a cross analysis from a contextual standpoint. But those are the only two I've seen recently about Luigi because I think we're still just waiting on trial.
I think the play is such a smart move in the cultural aspect of things. We know entertainment is a reflection of what's going on in our society, and to see that reflected immediately like that, as the topic is still very hot, I think that feels kind of newer. But yeah, I think the playwright definitely was very explicit about saying that no, he's not trying to glorify this guy. Yeah.
It is really interesting how society has moved that way, right? But I feel like that play will probably get more views and be read about more than most news articles and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have for today's episode. I want to once again thank you so much, Cheryl, for joining us. Can you just let us know how we can support you, find you, and rah you on and what you're doing?
I appreciate that. I am so honored that you guys, I don't understand how you guys found me. I'm
Serendipity.
so honored to have been on, to be among you guys and you guys. Yeah. I am kind of doing my own little thing. You can find me on Instagram, Hwang TV, CHERHWANG TV. And I have started to kind of make a little bit of social content to try to get ahead of some of the media changes. But I've been pretty bad about actually executing my plan. So stay tuned for a lot of the content, like short form content. But I also have a podcast called Clueless and Curious. You can find it on Spotify at the moment. It will eventually get to all the other places you get your podcasts, where I have cozy conversations with different people where I explore my own curiosities about the world and also other people's curiosities in cozy conversations too. So would love it if y'all would listen.
Yes, that sounds fun.
Cool.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm following you on Spotify now.
Hell yeah.
That was quick.
I'll look it up. Yeah.
All right.
Well, again, other than that, we were joined today also by our panelists Hajin Cho and Michael Kim. I'm Ed Choi. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you. And bye, Cheryl.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. That was fun.
So fun.
Say that.
I would love to chat with y'all in person. That would be so fun.
Oh, if you're ever in LA, come on,
yeah,
come in the
please.
studio.
Where are you guys located?
Koreatown for now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.